There is a hierarchy to evil in the world of Berserk. Not all monsters are created equal, not all darkness operates at the same level, and not all who have traded their humanity for power occupy the same rung on the ladder that descends from the human world into the abyss. From the lowest pseudo-apostle barely clinging to the edges of demonic transformation, to the Godhand themselves, beings so powerful they shape reality like sculptors shape clay. Every level of this hierarchy comes with its own experience, its own power, its own cost. So let's walk through each one. Let's talk about what it actually feels like to exist at every rank in Berserk's demonic hierarchy. Because whether you're the weakest thing that crawled out of a Behelit's darkness, or one of the five fingers of the Godhand, your existence is defined by the same brutal truth. You traded everything human for something monstrous. The only question is how much you got in return. Rank 1. The human on the edge, before the sacrifice. You still look human. You still eat, sleep, bleed. You have a name, a face, a history. But something is wrong, and you've known it for a while now. The Behelit in your possession, that strange egg-shaped object with the scattered facial features that found its way to you through circumstances you can't fully explain, has been with you long enough that you've stopped questioning why it exists. You've started to understand what it is, even if you don't want to admit it. You are at the edge. You are someone whose life has been building toward a single catastrophic moment of despair, and you can feel that moment approaching like a storm on the horizon. Maybe you've already experienced losses that would break most people. Maybe you've already compromised your morality in ways that disturbed you, told yourself the ends justified the means, watched people suffer because of your choices and kept moving anyway. The Behelit didn't choose you randomly. It chose you because the current of fate identified you as someone who would, at the right moment, in the right circumstances, say those two words that damn everything. You're not a monster yet, but you're becoming one. You can feel the capacity for it growing inside you, fed by desperation and loss, and the slow erosion of the lines you once refused to cross. The world has been cruel to you in specific, targeted ways, as if something larger is engineering your suffering, pushing you toward that singular moment of absolute despair where the Behelit will finally activate. This is the most human you will ever be again. And somewhere, deep down, part of you knows it. Rank 2. The pseudo-apostle, half monster, half nothing, you are not fully transformed. This is the cruelest rank in the hierarchy, the one that offers the worst of both worlds. You are no longer fully human, but you are not yet a true apostle. You exist in a liminal state, caught between what you were and what you're becoming, with none of the dignity of either condition. Rosine's elves are the clearest example of what you are at this rank. Children transformed into pseudo-apostles by another apostle's power, rather than through their own Behelit sacrifice. You didn't make the choice that creates true apostles. You were transformed by someone else's decision, someone else's power, used as raw material for another's vision. This means your transformation is incomplete, unstable, a pale imitation of true apostle power. Your body has changed. You're stronger than a human, faster, more durable. You have aspects of whatever demonic form you're being shaped toward, wings that let you fly, claws that can tear through flesh, senses sharper than any human's. But the transformation is partial, like a sculpture half finished. You have power, yes, but not the full power of a true apostle. You can be killed by sufficiently skilled human warriors. You are dangerous, but not invincible. The worst part is your mind, true apostle, retains their consciousness, their identity, their memories, however twisted and dark that identity might have become. But as a pseudo-apostle, your mind is compromised. You retain fragments of who you were, but they're scattered and inconsistent, surfacing at random moments and then submerging again beneath instinct and darkness. You might remember your name, your family, what your life felt like before the transformation. And then that memory vanishes, replaced by the hunting instinct, the need to kill and consume, the demon nature asserting dominance. You serve whoever transformed you. That's another distinction between your rank and true apostlehood. True apostles serve the Godhand but are ultimately autonomous beings who make their own choices. You are a tool, an extension of your Creator's will, existing to serve their purposes. If Rosine wants her elves to hunt humans, they hunt humans. There is no resistance, no choice, just obedience driven by the incomplete. Transformation binding you to your Creator. You are the most disposable rank in the hierarchy. True apostles treat you as cannon fodder, obstacles, or entertainment. Humans strong enough to fight demons can kill you. You exist at the bottom of two worlds, respected by neither, belonging to neither, a failed experiment in transformation that will never achieve the full dark potential it was pointed toward. Rank 3, the apostle, the monster you chose to become. Now we're talking. Now you have real power, you made the sacrifice, you looked at what you loved most, you marked them, you watched them die screaming while the brand burned into their flesh, and the Godhand completed the transaction. You are a full apostle, and the difference between this and everything below it is the difference between a candle and a bonfire. Your true form is monstrous. It reflects your nature, your desires, your psychology, the specific darkness that lived inside you before the transformation. The Count became a massive slug creature because his obsession with consuming and controlling others manifested in a form built for exactly that. Enormous, impossible to ignore, crushing everything beneath its weight. Rosine became an insect-like elf because her fantasies and desires shaped her transformation. Wild became an ape-like beast of pure violence because that's all he ever truly was. Your true form is you, distilled to essence, given shape by the dark powers that completed your transformation. In this true form, you are terrifying. Your strength is superhuman to a degree that places you completely beyond normal human opposition. A single strike from you can kill an armored knight instantly. You can tear through walls, flip wagons, survive injuries that would kill any normal creature. Your senses are enhanced to supernatural levels. You can smell blood from miles away, see in complete darkness, hear heartbeats through walls. You heal from wounds that would be fatal to humans, regenerating tissue that should take weeks to recover in hours. But here's what separates apostlehood from what came before. You can choose your form. You can appear human. You can walk among people, talk to them, infiltrate their societies, build identities, maintain relationships. The Count ruled his territory for years while hiding his true nature from everyone except his closest servants. This ability to pass as human gives you an enormous strategic advantage. You are a predator who can wear the prey's skin, hunting from inside the herd whenever you choose. Your human form retains your memories, your intelligence, your personality, however warped these have become. You remember your life before the sacrifice, the person you used to be, the people you loved and then destroyed. You can feel echoes of those connections, which is simultaneously a form of suffering and a reminder of what you gained by destroying them. Some apostles lean into this, torturing themselves with memory. Others build elaborate psychological defenses, rewriting their own internal narrative to justify the sacrifice, convincing themselves it was necessary, that those they destroyed deserved their fate. You serve the Godhand, but loosely. They don't micromanage apostles, they set the framework, maintain the cosmic order that apostles benefit from, and occasionally direct specific individuals toward particular goals. But day to day, you are your own master. You can build a life, pursue your own desires, create your own kingdom within the territory you control. The Count had his city, Rosine had Misty Valley. You will carve out your own domain, using your power to take whatever you want from the human world. The cost becomes clear over time. You need to feed, not in the basic human way, but in the deeper way that your apostle nature demands. Human flesh sustains you differently than it did before. The act of consuming humans becomes a necessity rather than a choice, a biological drive, built into your transformed physiology. You rationalize this, of course. Humans are prey now, resources to be harvested, creatures on a lower level of existence. You have transcended them through sacrifice, and their lives existing to sustain yours is simply the natural order expressing itself. But there are moments, rare and disturbing, when the rationalization slips. When you look at a human face and see something that reminds you of who you were before, and for a single terrible moment you remember that you were once one of them, that you had a face like that. that someone once looked at you with the same frightened eyes. These moments pass quickly. They have to. Rank 4. The Apostle Elite. Power that bends reality. Not all apostles are equal, and you have risen above the rank and file through some combination of raw power, age, experience, and the particular nature of your transformation. You are an Apostle Elite, a being so far beyond ordinary apostles that the difference is almost comparable to the gap between humans and regular apostles. Zod the Immortal is the clearest example of what you are at this rank, and his existence demonstrates exactly what it means to have operated at this level for centuries. Your longevity defines you. Regular apostles can be killed by sufficiently powerful human warriors. Guts kills them regularly, as do other skilled fighters who've encountered enough demons to understand their weaknesses. But you are different. You have survived for so long, fought so many battles, that your combat experience alone places you beyond what ordinary warriors can handle. You've faced and defeated opponents that would have killed you in your early apostle years. You've learned from every battle, adapted to every threat, refined your fighting style through centuries of conflict. Your power has grown proportionally with your age and experience. The transformation that created you has deepened over time, your true form becoming more monstrous, more capable, more difficult to damage. Wounds that would slow a regular apostle barely register on you. Your regeneration is so powerful that limbs can be reattached. Massive damage repaired in minutes rather than hours. You are approaching the point where the word immortal isn't hyperbole, but literal description. There is very little in the physical world capable of truly ending your existence. You have a reputation. Centuries of existence leave marks on the world, and beings who have faced you and survived tell stories that spread through human and demonic circles alike. Your name carries weight. When other apostles hear it, they measure themselves against your legend and usually find themselves wanting. When humans hear it, they understand that whatever they've faced before was nothing, that this is a different category of threat entirely. But power at this level creates its own specific form of isolation. You have outlived everything and everyone from your human life by centuries. The betrayal that created you, the sacrifice you made, whoever you destroyed is not just dead but ancient history. Their existence faded to almost nothing in your memory. You remember the act, the moment, the transformation, but the person? The connection that made the sacrifice meaningful enough to fuel the Behelit's power? Gone. Eroded by centuries until it's barely more than an abstract historical fact about yourself. What you have instead is the purest expression of what you became. The warrior, the survivor, the being of primal power who exists at the intersection of the human world and the abyss. You fight because fighting is what you are. You exist because your existence has become its own justification. You are so far beyond your origins that looking back at the human you were feels like examining the life of a stranger. Someone you might have known once, but have long since lost connection with. At this rank, you begin to understand something that regular apostles don't. The Godhand's design is larger than any individual transformation. You can see the patterns now, the way Behelets scatter and find their owners. The way fate flows through human lives, pushing them toward their destined moments of sacrifice. You've watched it happen countless times, watched humans break and transform, watched the cycle perpetuate itself endlessly. And you've realized that you are a small piece of something vast and ancient, a mechanism in a machine whose full purpose even you cannot comprehend. Rank 5, the Godhand, divinity bought with the world. And now we reach the top. Now we talk about what it means to exist at the absolute apex of this hierarchy, to be one of the 5 members of the Godhand. You are no longer an apostle in any meaningful sense. You have transcended that category entirely, moving from the darkness that exists within the physical world to something that operates on a completely different plane of reality. You are a demon god, a force of nature given form and consciousness, and the experience of being you is so far removed from anything human that even describing it requires concepts that don't exist in human language. Your power is almost without limit within the framework of reality as it exists. You can manifest physically, but your true existence is in the astral plane, in the dimension between worlds where causality and fate operate as physical forces. You can influence events across vast distances, simply by willing it, nudging the flow of fate in specific directions, making certain outcomes more likely through the simple application of your presence and intention. You are not quite omnipotent. There are forces and beings above even you, but within the scope of the physical world, you are effectively a god. You experience time differently than any being below you in the hierarchy. The Godhand operate on timescales that make individual human lives seem like the blink of an eye. You are working toward goals that will take centuries to achieve, moving pieces across a board that most beings don't even know exists. Griffith's transformation into Femto, his decision to sacrifice the Band of the Hawk and ascend to the Godhand, was not a random event, but the culmination of a plan that had been in motion for far longer than anyone realized. At your level, everything is part of a design. Your consciousness exists in multiple places simultaneously. You can be present at a sacrifice occurring in one part of the world while also observing events on the other side of the continent, while also operating within the deeper layers of the astral plane where your true power resides. The concept of being in one place at one time barely applies to you. You are distributed across reality in ways that make even the most powerful apostle elite look like a simple, limited thing. But here is what it costs to be Godhand. You have no humanity left in any meaningful sense. Not the twisted, distorted humanity of an apostle who remembers their sacrifice with guilt or pride. Not the fragmented human consciousness of a pseudo-apostle flickering in and out of awareness. Nothing. The transformation that elevated you to the Godhand burned away everything that connected you to your human origins. You made the ultimate sacrifice, not just of those you loved, but of your entire self. Your capacity for genuine human connection, your ability to experience the world through the lens of individual consciousness. Griffith as Femto is the clearest illustration of this. Everything that made Griffith human, his ambition driven by desire, his complicated feelings about guts, his capacity to be moved by beauty or friendship or the loyalty of his soldiers, all of it is gone. Femto moves through the world with absolute clarity and absolute coldness, pursuing goals that serve the Godhand's design without any of the emotional complexity that drove Griffith's human existence. He doesn't hate guts. He doesn't love anyone. He simply acts in accordance with the role he has chosen to embody within the structure of causality. You are alone in a way that nothing below your rank can comprehend. Even isolated apostles have a form of connection to the world. They feed on humans. They interact with the physical environment. They experience desire and fear and hunger. You are beyond all of that, existing in a state of pure intention and purpose. The only company you have is the other 4 members of the Godhand, beings who exist at the same impossible remove from reality that you do. You understand each other in ways that nothing else can understand you, because you share the same fundamental nature, the same elevation above everything that once defined your existence. Is this what you wanted? When you stood at your moment of absolute despair and made the choice that elevated you here, was this what you were reaching for? The answer, at this level of existence, barely matters. You are beyond wanting, beyond the limited human concept of desire and satisfaction. You are the architecture of fate made conscious, the mechanism of causality given will. You don't want things the way humans want things. You embody purposes that operate at scales where individual desire becomes irrelevant. This is the apex of the hierarchy. This is what waits at the end of the path that begins with a human clutching a strange, egg-shaped object, feeling fate closing around them like a trap. From the first terrified humans standing at the edge of transformation, all the way up to beings who shape reality through will alone. Every rank on this ladder is defined by the same fundamental exchange. You traded what you were for what you became. And whether what you received was worth what you paid is a question that, at the highest levels of this hierarchy, you have lost the capacity to even ask.